A lot of times in my career, I've had to write content for a completely new audience. And this is true for most writers, right? We constantly find ourselves working across niches, maybe because the best paying opportunities are not in our comfort zone. Maybe our client suddenly wants content in a new area, or maybe just because we're deliberately building a diverse portfolio. Whatever the reason may be, the question remains: how do you write content for an audience you know nothing about? This is exactly what we're going to talk about in this video today. Hi everyone, I'm Harshika and you're watching First Person Content, where I empower B2B marketers to create content with a purpose and a personality. And the first step in doing so is to really understand your audience. So today I'm going to give you my exact process of doing audience research that has helped me multiple times over the past 7 years break into new niches in a way that my target audience thinks I'm one of them. Now, I'm not talking about basic demographics or surface level research. I'm talking about getting so deep into your audience's world that you can actually tell what they're going to talk about next. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get started. The first step is to decode the ICP provided by the client. ICP stands for Ideal Customer Profile, and it looks something like this. SaaS companies with $10 to $50 million in revenue, located primarily in the North America, and decision makers are CTOs and IT directors. Helpful information, but how do you use it as a writer? You extract the insights hidden behind these firmographics. Taking that example again, when they say SaaS companies with $10 to $50 million in revenue, they mean that their target audience is tech savvy, they pass the bootstrap phase, they move pretty fast, but they have actual processes also. North America tells you the audience prefers directness, loves clear structure, and of course, what kind of English they use and where they're located. And when they say CTOs and IT directors, they mean technical folks who prefer data backed advice that connects tech investments to business outcomes. You can gather this data easily by doing quick Google searches, but this is where most writers stop their audience research, and that is a big mistake. Sure, by now you know who your target audience is, but do you know how they talk, how they think, or what their biggest problems are? This is where a next step comes in. Second step is to interview your client or the customer facing teams in your company, like sales or customer success. You can ask them a few pointed questions over mail or set up a quick call. Questions can include: who are your best customers? Not ideal, but actual customers. What do these customers have in common? What specific problem does your product or service solve for your customers? Which features or benefits do customers mention the most during sales calls? And what objections do potential customers raise before purchasing? Also ask for 3 to 5 sales call or demo recordings and listen for the exact language customers use. This will help you build a 3D view of your target audience beyond basic data. Now, before we move on to the next and the most important step, let's do a quick recap. By now, you understand who your audience is, what their problems are, and a basic sense of how they talk. But in order to really write like them, you need more exposure to how they communicate. Listening to sales recordings was a good start. Now you need to be where they are. You need to find and sign up for all the channels, communities, forums, groups, etc., where your ICP hangs out. For example, when I was at Storylane, my target audience were pre-sales and product marketing folks. So I signed up for Slack groups like Pre-Sales Collective, Product Marketing Alliance, Exit 5, and I also connected with my target audience on LinkedIn and the experts they follow, such as Peter Cohan, Max Lupers, Natasha Bax. Why did I do this? Well, first reason is that I wanted to interact with their post and build some familiarity. And second is to observe how they talk and build a word bank of all the terminologies they use, which is also called jargon. By the way, jargon is not the enemy that it's made out to be. It's basically a shorthand for communication within a specific group of people. For example, sales professionals like to say pipeline velocity instead of explaining the speed at which customers move along the sales funnel from first touch to closing the deal. You get what I'm saying? Jargon enables a clearer, faster way to communicate among those that have shared knowledge or context. So, if you want to make sure that your audience doesn't flag you as an outsider, you need to talk how they talk, which means you need to know their jargon. But you also need to be careful. Do not just go ahead and sprinkle jargon within your content without knowing the context. It can do you more harm than good, and it can signal that you're an imposter trying to infiltrate their group. So be very cognizant. Coming back, this step has helped me write technical content that my ICP shared within their communities without realizing that it was written by an outsider. Now, if you're wondering where to find these communities, you can ask your client or you can use audience research tools like SparkToro. Even the freemium version of this tool gives plenty of information like the social accounts they follow, the podcasts they listen to, the YouTube channels they subscribe to, and subreddits that they're a part of. So that brings us to the end of my process, and now comes the moment of truth. Go ahead and use all this research that we have done to create a minimum viable content and get it reviewed by your client. Remember to not get stuck in the perfectionism trap. The goal is to not nail it on your first try. The goal is to gradually build trust and get you or your client closer to becoming a thought leader. As a bonus, I'm also sharing a downloadable audience research worksheet that you can keep handy whenever you start working on a new project. You can find the link to it in the description box below. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, do not forget to subscribe and push the bell icon. I'll see you next time.